that
Nom.
and then the guys I'm working with now, like 2 of them actually did fly in Nam.
Those dudes are old.
Yes.
Back in Nam.
Yeah.
If anybody ever talks about Nam, you should just say, well, in Korea we did.
Not to these guys.
All right, are we ready?
Close
Punched in
enough.
the face. Mental's hold. Got problems with his plumbing. What else do we need to know? Oh. Hold on. My music switched to the wrong theme. All right, everyone. Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of Lemma Champ or Lucky Track Dog League you run, SCC or NASA, we won't discriminate, as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussion, tips, tricks, news and notes in the world of amateur endurance racing, and whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough, and Chrissy gives us just a tip, we're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Mental, and we are Everyone Racers. Thanks so much for coming back and listening to a Benneton episode of our podcast. The Benneton B192 was the Formula One team's entry for the 1992 F1 season, Michael Schumacher's first full season ride, and it allowed him to finish third in the Drivers' Championship. Benetton themselves would finish third in the Constructors' Championship. What's interesting about that is Schumacher finished ahead of Ayrton Senna, the reigning world champion at the time. So if you're not driving your points-winning F1 car, or for that matter, any car, grab that brand spanking new updated E1R bingo card. Somebody didn't somebody put in the Slack channel they got bingo last week? Somebody got bingo.
It was my
Your
brother.
brother.
Your brother got bingo. There it is. And so we'll transition from the bingo card to, as we so often do, with what you working on. And I see lots of double entendres about sand in the Whala.
There's no double entendres. It's sanding the boat.
You just spelled it out how you're supposed to say it.
Actually, Saturday, I painted the boat. This time, spray instead of roll and tip. I got myself a better
tip.
Yep. I got myself a better gun at Eastwood.
So much more
It was on
fun
sale.
than
His old gun wasn't good enough.
I got a better gun for the tip. Actually, really, I did, because the tip size was different. I needed a tip size of 1.1 to 1.3, apparently, per the manufacturer when I talked to the tech rep.
1.3.
Yep.
It's like not even funny that you said.
That's like 0.2 larger, and that matters.
Yeah. Yeah. And the gun I had was a 1.5 tip, so I needed a smaller tip on the gun to paint the stuff, and I did. And I have to say, this is much better than rolling and tipping. It goes so much faster, especially in uneven areas. I did make some runs when I started off, because I'm getting used to the whole thing. And as I was really starting, like in coat 1, the wind really picked up, which is a real shame when you're spray painting anything. And it's a lot of pollen around. So I ended up making like a wind block out of a tarp attached to the house and to some trees, and held down with Scooty and a battery on the bottom. Like, I'm sure it looked fabulous as you drove up the road. I'm like, what are you doing back there? But
I feel like there's just this thing where the wind comes up and he goes, what would Jeff or Mental do in this situation? I know.
Yeah. Hey,
Jeff would just let the shit fall into the paint. I mean,
that's true.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I've actually never painted a car that I cared about.
Yeah. So we're now in the process of wet sanding out all of that stuff, all of the pollen and stuff and runs and whatnot that I put in it. We are sanding all that out. And then this is basically, it's many coats of wet sanding, depending, like the runs get 600 and then 1,000, then 1,500, then 2,000. The parts that are good just get 1,500, then 2,000. And then once all the sanding is done, then it's buffing time. We get 3 different layers of buffing with various aggressive and less aggressive compounds. And
he said time.
Buff. Anyway, that's what we're doing. The power went out today while we were actually at the end of my workday. So we were happy to have a scenario B available because we have sump pumps that
We use that
actually
so
work.
more than people should.
Yeah.
We're like,
Yep.
switch to scenario B. And then we make
Yep.
up like different things. And then I say, which one is that? Like when what's his face got in the car, he didn't know.
Yep. And we grabbed the generator out of the trailer, some extension cords, got the sump pumps going again. Yeah, all as well.
Nice.
It's nice to be emergency prepared.
What caused your power outage? Or does it matter? I'm sorry.
A thunderstorm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they get those up there. All right. Yeah.
Yep.
Like big
It's
ones today.
Pretty
Like, is
much
it-
what's going on. It's coming here.
Yep.
Are you in between stages? You have one already?
No, we have not had one yet.
Oh.
One
we had
came really
two.
close, and then it didn't. We heard some thunder, but then it didn't rain.
Oh, then you're probably just gonna get the next one. The next one just came through, so you'll be probably getting it while
Yep.
you're on here.
This is good listener stuff. Jeff, what are you working on?
So I had to take my son to Scout College, which was like camp for a day to do merit badges. And then we went to a friend's house and we had swim test, which is the code for all the kids get to have a pool party. So it was really weird. This is my first like post-vaccination like social event with other maskless adults. And it was a lot of, you get the vat? Did you get the vat? Okay.
I know we don't do political on this show, but I'm going to make this joke anyway. It's a real easy way to find out if someone's been vaccinated and they're not wearing a mask. Ask them who won the election.
Yeah, it's absolutely. I was surrounded by a lot of doctors and things, and they were all like, yeah. So it was pretty good. Yeah. So I mentioned last week that I polished the headlights on the Mazda 3. And then my father goes, oh, I can't see either. You need to polish the headlights on my car. So I had to get his car and polish his headlights.
It's not the coat of filth on the windshield. It's the
It's
headlights.
pretty bad. And you all saw the video. I'm not going to post that video for public consumption. But my father's car is disgusting. Like it is.
We knew this.
It is way grosser than even I can handle. I'm just saying. But I did clean the hell out of my 3. And I did this for a very specific reason because at Scout College, I talked to one of our youths about learning how to drive stick. And I made an appointment, and he on Saturday morning or Sunday morning, we went out and I taught a 16-year-old. By the way, a 16-year-old in the state of New Jersey does not yet have his driver's license. And I taught him to drive because he is currently fixing a C5 Corvette for his first car with his father. And his father has no other cars with a stick and could not teach him. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. The car, it's all apart. So he like can't, even though he has his learner's permit, his father can't take him out and do his fatherly duty of teaching him the church of the third pedal. So I said, look, the Mazda 3 is going soon, and I'm not going to be teaching no wayward youths on the new car. So I asked around. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
2 hours.
C5 Corvette is a pretty bold choice for a first car. For
Yes.
Not New Jersey. Not New Jersey at all. If he's already got the tank tops and the gold chains, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping the fact that he has a lot of sweat equity in it is going to mean he's going to make some slightly more quality decisions.
When did the C5 start? Was the first year of the C5?
97.
Mhm.
97.
It might have been a C4.
No,
I
okay,
can't
he's
remember
totally-
exactly.
In which case, he's safer than that than he is in a new
Yeah.
Honda minivan.
Yeah, probably. Well, I don't know about safe, but yeah. So anyway, so he is it was fun. It was about an hour in a parking lot, and then about 20-30 minutes on the street, and then he drove me home. So I would consider that a success.
No stalling.
One stall.
Good.
His father was in the back seat, and his father was doing pretty well about staying out of it.
Seriously, what pressure?
At one point, the only time he stalled is he was coming up to a green light, and we all kind of suggested, why don't you use second to make this left-hand turn? And he came to a complete stop for no reason. Like he could have rolled through the left, but we told him to go into second. So he kept it in second and, Like, I think if we didn't shout that, he would have put it into neutral, come to a
Just-
complete stop, and then put it in first and gone. So
Overloaded so that,
Mhm.
he was like,
Yeah.
There's a
wait,
lot-
all right, I'm going to stop this input and then process that input. And that involves the car not moving.
And there's a lot of that learning that you're, in addition to stalling, there's a lot of that. Which gear am I in? Depends on the
Yeah.
car. Where am I going? So you'll learn.
exactly.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I was going to do stuff on the on the 300Z, but that's when my father said he wanted his headlights done. So I did fix the wing because the wing had fallen off. And then I drilled it and like put bolts that went all the way through the wing. So now it will stay on like real bolts.
Fell off from all of the speed and power.
Or all of the times Jeff has been opening the trunk with it in the last couple of weeks because I keep opening it. I've ordered all the parts. So all the parts should be in by the weekend, not including the lugs, the extended lugs. So this weekend, I think Jim and I will have most of it done.
Cool. And you never told us the what happened when you talked to the power steering fitting people.
Oh, okay. I can talk to you about the power steering fitting people. So Turn One is the name of the company. It is a fantastic company that has all kinds of power steering fittings. I think you sent me the link to it, right, Chris?
I think I did. Yes. Yes.
So I emailed them.
It looked like the right part. It was a restrictor, but it also was long and skinny enough to get past our Corvette pulley and still be able to put the IN fitting on the end and not hit anything. Yeah.
Exactly. I had a conversation with one of their guys. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. I think it was Mark. And he talked a lot about like, so what are you doing? And what's this? And what's that? And I told him that basically we were venting out of the cap and we blew a line and we need a restrictor and we do this and we do this. And he was like, whoa. Okay. Restrictors only do one thing. So all of those things that you're talking about, it is not going to fix. And he talked to me about how to fix all the other stuff. So venting out of the cap is not helped by the restrictor. Cooling is the only thing that keeps it venting from the cap. And the cap is supposed to vent if it gets hot. So you're just going to have to live with it if you're overheating the power steering. The restrictor restricts flow, not pressure. So it will still deliver the same amount of pressure, just not as much. So it's an interesting concept. Basically, the only thing the restrictor, by the way, we're talking about a Chevy power steering pump that is going into the Nissan rack for the Nissan 300Z. And he basically said, if the steering is way too light, that is what a restrictor will fix. I'm sorry, Chris, you're muted. You're still muted.
You're still muted.
I said it's pretty light. The steering
pretty
on
light.
that car.
Yeah. So I ordered the restrictor. And then basically he said cooling is your key. I told him about the little cooling thing that we stuck in there, the cooler. And I'm probably going to rearrange it and try and get it up front. But he also said synthetic fluid is your friend, the best synthetic fluid. He gave a couple of fluid recommendations. Turn One steering cannot suggest them high enough. He also said, well, if you really need it, we can rebuild that pump so it does different things. And we're not there, dude. That was
but
some,
we're not there.
We're not there, but that is cubic dollars
Yeah.
we're not ready to spend at the moment.
Yep.
That's actually really great stuff. Turn One will be linked in our show notes.
Oh, thank you.
Cool. Thanks
Cool.
for the update. I've been wondering about that.
Yeah. Chrissy,
Great.
what are
Cool.
you working on?
On Saturday, I ran a Girl Scout event in a field, and it was 90 plus degrees with a little bit of breeze, so it was really hot. But I think everybody had a good time, so that's good. We had a quick beach trip on Sunday, and then I have been helping sanding the boat, and we were going to do it tonight, and there have been storms rolling through, so we took tonight off. Back to work tomorrow. All fun here. Mental, what you up to?
So I had in my in the show notes here that I was working on plumbing. I give you the way too much background on this, but it just talks about how project creep is not unique to cars. On Sunday, Vicky noticed that our faucet had gotten wobbly, and it's a bolt underneath that tightens up the faucet. To properly get underneath there, I disconnected the two lines from the water inputs and then tightened the faucet so it wasn't wobbly. And then when I reattached the faucets onto the cold water and the hot water side would neither completely turn off or completely turn on with the 45-degree dual outlet valve. So Monday, I went to Home Depot and got a new dual outlet stainless steel valve, which I then placed on. Monday night, I come home, or Tuesday, I come home from work and Vicky's got a pan underneath it. She goes, yeah, it's been leaking. I thought you knew. So I spent literally the entire night, Tuesday night, taking off, putting back on, taking off, putting back on, taking off, putting back on this dual outlet valve. At 6 a.m, I finally got all back together and it stopped leaking. I turned on the faucet, no water pressure. And at this point, I have been up for 36 hours. And I look at Vicky and go, I quit, call a plumber. I have exhausted. And really, when you're working on plumbing at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're not really working on plumbing at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're learning about plumbing at 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's exactly what I was doing. So she called a wonderful local outfit. They came out here today and goes, oh yeah, no, he did everything right. Your faucet's broken. Which was the conversation Chris and Chrissy were. Yeah, just turns out the faucet was garbage. So I'm furious, but relieved that I'm not actually completely useless when it comes to home repair. Which, on that note, I've also been working on the roof. My house is now much like Sasha's Sentra, 30% more. I've actually only got one more rubber section to glue down. And then I've got to start doing the 80% of the labor to get the last 20% of the roof covered in that. Last night, I had the absolute joy of going to the premiere, even though it's already on Pluto On Demand. If you have a smart TV, go to Pluto TV and then go to their On Demand section. And way down, like 5 pages down, is a Cars subheading. And it's called Porsche Road Trip. It's a 6-episode series with John Polinick, who's based here in Las Vegas. He invited Vicky and I to that. It was fantastic. I posted pictures on her Instagram. A lot of fun, a lot of, old car nerds and people who actually weren't car nerds that suddenly got pulled into the car hobby. What you got, Jeff?
He invited you? You know him?
Yeah, we're friends.
I love his YouTube show, Bid Nerds.
Yeah, I was on it.
You were on it? When the hell were you on it?
Very briefly. It was like 2 months ago. I was watching it on my phone at work and he sees me watching. He goes, hey, we're going to bring my buddy Mental Ward in here. And yeah, so I popped in there for a couple of minutes to talk about it.
This is my new obsession.
It's
for those of you who don't know,
show.
Can I explain it real quick?
Go for it.
So 2 guys literally every day talk about 4 or 5 cool cars that are up for auction currently on the major bid sites. And then they review the cars that they did yesterday. And they know more stuff about Porsches than anybody in the world.
Yeah,
they were
John is
arguing,
a great guy.
Yeah. Michael Deeb is the other guy. They were arguing the other day about whether something was or wasn't an available option in 1976. And they had to go to the green book. And it turns out one guy was right. I don't remember. I think Michael was right and John was wrong. But it was like, they literally sit there and go, they are friends with like Bradley and the guys who run, Rad
for Sale.
Thank you, Rad for Sale. And they are like, these pictures are terrible. They have no problem like saying this car is worth $20,000 more, and it's the fault of the website for allowing them to submit these crappy pictures. Yeah, it's fantastic. Absolutely. You got to watch it.
He's a filmmaker by trade. And he told me, I was like, when the first time I met him through Cameron, the other half of the Camden Tub podcast. We were both going to go check out a Mustang for Cam that he found on a website here in Las Vegas. And then, we hung out, did some coffee, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm working on this show with Adam Carolla. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And then he sent me the link to the show. And if you haven't watched the show, he completely buried the lead. He's buddies with Sir Mix-a-Lot.
He is buddies with Sir Mix-a-Lot.
And yes, Sir Mix-a-Lot is known for the Butt song, which is a great song. But Sir Mix-a-Lot is like the original OG hardcore car guy.
Absolutely.
I remember when I was in high school, he wrote a letter to the editor of Car and Driver, and he was calling him out about something. And he said, look, that's not a unique vehicle. It's not a Bizzarini. And I remember I had to go to my big green encyclopedia of cars and look up what a Bizzarini was. By the way, it's a handmade race car from the 60s. They're beautiful. They're gorgeous. Anyway, So I did that. Tomorrow I leave for Thunderhill. Tomorrow evening I leave for Thunderhill. Be judging Thunderhill this weekend. It is going to be hot and fun, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. And tomorrow during the day is my going away. So I have a golf tournament for me and a few other people from my old units going away.
And then are you
So-
done? Like you don't have to go there for work anymore? Or
I
is
don't
it
have
just
to go there. I don't have to go there for work now. I go to another place for work. Hence this. What you can't see on the radio is me mocking my I'm 12 years old and I didn't shave for a year beard that I've got going on here. My Ashton Kutcher on a Bender beard that I'm now growing because I just hate shaving. But yeah, we'll post. Actually, one of my favorite ads for Bid Nerds is John Polinick's he's got a shotgun and it's his car and he points it at his Porsche and he goes, if you don't watch Bid Nerds, I'm going to shoot this 997. And then he turns the camera. It's a new cut. And he goes, and if you immediately said, that's not a 997, that's a 996. Well, then this show's for you because that's exactly what I did when I saw that. So yeah, enough of us hyping that.
This is news.
We turn to our Corvette expert.
Right after the show, I'll be telling Mental, yo, book that guy for our show. Chevy Corvette production is shut down once again this week until June. It is currently like the middle of May. Lewin Day at the Drive tells us that ongoing parts shortages that are currently plaguing, every single car plant that's happening, that's trying to build, but is also keeping the Bowling Green, Kentucky factory from meeting the demand of the new mid-engined Corvette. For those of you keeping score, this is the 7th time that part issues have halted the line since production started in 2021 for the 2021 model year. Making it worse is the fact that the new Corvette was the fastest selling car in March. Lewin expands with the data that the C8 Corvettes are spending just 13.1 days on a dealer lot before being sold, which is over 3 times quicker than the 49 days that was averaged by most other new cars. Show notes will have the Drive story.
Wow.
You have to wait for your Corvette a little longer.
Look, we've talked about it already. The halts in production is causing a spike in all car prices. So,
Yep.
And lots of other problems.
And lots of
other problems.
Yes. Okay. Last week we told you Las Vegas-based racer Michelle Abate was making her NASCAR debut at the Circuit of Americas this past weekend in the number 30 Toyota Tundra. She finished 29th after starting 26th in her first ever NASCAR event. If you had a chance to see the race, torrential downpour may not have adequately described the weather. With rain throughout for the entire 225-mile race, Abate ran as high as 17th in the race, but finished 29th when the checkered flag flew after track contact. Quoted on Blogger, Abate said, "It's unfortunate to get hit by the 51 with just a few laps remaining, but I still had the time of my life out there, and racing in the rain made it so much more fun." Adding, "I hope this is only the beginning of my involvement with NASCAR." Good for her.
In other news, highly played NASCAR wussies complained about the rain.
I'm sure they did.
And the internet made fun of them.
How about the rights and lefts? Did they make fun of that too?
It was interesting how there was a lot of drivers that just leaned into it. They're like, yeah, finally I get to show what I can do in the rain. Yeah, I finally get to show what I can do on a road course. And the rest of them are like, my driving suit is wet.
Wet driving suit does suck. I will freely admit that.
Especially when you smell as bad as Jeff does. You
smell like it clean.
I would wear Jeff's driving suit to drive any of those cars in a torrential downpour at Circuit of the Americas and would finish dead last, be laughed by everyone, and wouldn't care.
Speaking of finishing dead last, this weekend's Monaco F1 race looked to be the shakeup in the Hamilton dominance of the season. And when Bottas qualified well, it seemed like, hey, it might be his moment to shine, until it wasn't. If you haven't seen the video, the wheel gun, which apparently spins 10,000 RPM with over 2,000 foot-pounds of torque, stripped the nut on his wheel. But what you might not know, as Hazel Southwell in the Drive tells us, is Mercedes still can't get the nut off the wheel. at least for a little while they were still at the track. Technical director James Allison confirmed we didn't get the wheel nut off. It sat in our garage with a wheel stand on it. It's going to have to get ground off. Adding, we'll need to get a Dremel out and painfully slice through the remnants of the wheel nut. We'll do this back at the factory. They're not going to do that at the track. So, hey, don't feel bad about that bolt you had to cut off your car, because F1 teams do it too. Yep.
That was so sad.
It was so fast for Bottas. I was like, oh.
I died.
I know you like him, so.
Well, I do, because he's an underdog, and sometimes he's good and sometimes he shines. And now you're running in second, and everything's going well, and all of a sudden he's just like, oh, I think I read a quote from him that he was just like, this is so slow. Like, it's like time staying still, because normally your pit stops are 2 seconds. So then it's 2, 5, 10. Oh no.
I literally sat there going, Mercedes is screwing it up again.
Right? But
why do they always screw up Bottas? They never screw up.
Yes. That's true, right? Yeah, that's your brother has the theory on that.
This was a colossal fuck up.
This was a colossal fuck up.
It was somebody we did the live broadcast. It didn't go as smoothly as I'd planned, mostly because I'm not very technical savvy, but someone pointed out that if I had never watched F1 in my life, I would have thought that Mercedes was a mid-tier, lower end, average team that just didn't care. Their entire thing that weekend.
That's sad game.
If you haven't seen the close-up of the metal shavings on the F1 Twitter, you need to go find it. It's pretty.
The ones that are flying.
Yes,
it's linked in that Haley Southwell article on the Drive. It's pretty impressive.
Go look at that. Go click that. It's amazing.
Sadness.
It's all right. Concours de Le Mans was this Saturday. It's sort of in conjunction with the Amelia Island Concours, but a day sooner and even farther away than last time. Haggerty wrote a great piece covering the event entitled Amelia Island Concours de Le Mans Gets Bigger and Dumber Every Year. Nice. And it's actually using a quote from Alan Galbraith. The links in our notes. The cover photo is the infamous Duff Beer Triumph Stag.
Oh, very cool.
Which managed to blow up entering the grounds and oiled down their grass and had to be pushed to its spot, which is just awesome. And you're thinking, didn't Duff sell that car and then someone else auctioned it off? And as Eric Rude tells us, you're right. They sold it to the A2 racing guys up in Knoxville for like $1,000. They looked it over and said, I don't want this thing. So then they gave it to Jill for Lemons of Love to auction off, and it raised $10,000, which was awesome. Yeah. So
no way.
Absolutely. The guy that brought the Thunderbird to Sebring and also did really well in the Texas Rattletraps rally, won the auction, got the car, very happy that he gave that money to charity, realized I do not want this car, decided to donate it to North Carolina's Agricultural and Technical College as a mechanical engineering product, which they insisted we absolutely do not want this car, and neither did any other technical school that Ed tried to give this thing to. So finally he gave up and asked Roger if he wanted it back.
That's hilarious.
To compose. Duff Beer made $1,000. Jill raised $10,000 for Lemons of Love with it, and it has now come all the way back for free. And as Eric puts it, it is without a doubt the most valuable Triumph Stag on the planet right now. Link to this entire debacle is in our show notes.
This car has a 3 p.m. connection. The engine that is currently in this car.
No idea. I am like with bated breath waiting to hear the rest of this story.
The engine that's currently in this car is the Oddfire Buick V6 that Bruce bought off a guy on Craigslist in New Hampshire when the first one blew. And
I want to race in that motor.
And that what later went on to win Class C. And then they pulled out that perfectly good running engine for the supercharged one, and it was sitting in the garage. I knew that Roger was running one of these in the Duff Beer car and that it blew up. And when I was down at CMP when he was there, I said, hey, you know what? I know where there's one of these that runs great. And it's just sitting, gathering dust. Roger drove up from South Carolina to Greg's place to get it. Drove home, put it in. Duff won C with it when they had it. So that motor has
the second time it won Class
that motor
C.
has won C in two different British cars. That Buick V6 won C in 2 British cars, and now it's been around the world. So there's the 3 p.m. connection to that.
And
car.
having won C, it decided its life was complete and it would go out spilling oil all over the grass
Yeah.
of a park in Florida.
Oh.
Yep.
Well, Donnie, you hear that? Mental knows it's in Florida.
That is
I am so
fantastic.
excited to hear that. Upcoming races. The Lemons Yokohama Days of Thunderhill is this weekend. 114 cars
Wow.
on a 5-mile circuit.
Yeah.
Whew, that's a long track. 18 BMWs,
Boring.
9 Miatas, 7 Hondas, 3 Porsches, and what we promise as a stunning Bentley Continental version of a Chrysler 300. Okay. Watch our and the Lemon social media for images because Mental will be there in the judging robes.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Recent results.
Oh, sorry. Was I supposed to yell again?
Nope.
Yeah.
I
You usually do.
It's
but-
fine. Lucky Dog was at Carolina Motorsports Park for the first of 3 Southern events in their Carolina Cup. Saturday, there were 30 cars. That's not much at CMP. That's not a lot. First was Irritable Dad Syndrome, 9 laps over full teeter racing. 1 second back was our buddies of the Squirtin' Coronas.
And from our friend and teammate Darren, aka Big Sexy, on Saturday at hour 7, they were running first with an 8-lap lead. Slower car didn't see them passing them and hit them. Their tie rod bent 90 degrees. Took them 30 minutes to fix it and get back on track, though.
That was in the CLK.
SLK.
SLK, excuse me, the SLK. That's pretty quick for a tie rod in a modernish Mercedes.
Well, if
They
they
have
have the
like
part.
3. Yeah, they've got like 3 Mercedes techs on that team too. And
Yeah.
that car's, it's all home built at this point.
That's true.
Pretty
Who
much.
knows? It's even Mercedes parts on it. Sunday's 2-hour race was a different story. The Coronas were first. Again, that's our big sexy friend. And almost a full minute over the Flying Critters. So the Squirtin' Coronas were beating the Flying Critters. And in third place was Turtle Tuned a lap back. I love these names.
Hey, Matt Connolly, listen up.
That's right. You want to get mentioned on our show?
Yeah.
Have a name like the Flying Critters. So they, for those of you who have never been to Carolina, they have a Jesus Hour, and it's kind of in the middle of the day. So Lemons usually stops and then continues the race after that. But they actually split it into a sprint race and then a continuation of a longer race. So after Jesus Hour, a third 5-hour race saw the Coronas again on top at the podium, a whole lap over the irritable dad syndrome. And the third was, I have no idea what this stands for, WOFTAM 8 or TOTAM, which was 8 laps back.
Yep.
And Big
Waftam.
Sexy did add, Waftam. As Chrissy mentions, there's only 30 cars on this. All right, this is independent verification because we've all raced Lucky Dog and we loved it. So Big Sexy added, Lucky Dog was a lot of fun and it's a good organization. So if you're down south and you're looking to expand your repertoire, absolutely check out Lucky Dog.
Yeah,
Totally.
and they're going to do some fantastic tracks. Not only does Carolina Motorsports have a new surface, but they're also doing Charlotte. Roval, right?
Yeah,
Not just
absolutely.
Roval. Yeah. All right, listener feedback time. So I was talking about my car choices last week, and AJ on the YouTube said, I'm 2 years into used VW ownership. Used VW ownership, he said. My first German car after many consecutive years of driving Japanese cars. I have to say it's been way more reliable and pleasant than I had anticipated. The only real annoying part was having to go buy all of the Torx and triple square sockets and the other tools that work on a VW and nothing else. Everything is a T25 or a 10 millimeter triple square fastener. I feel that is totally uncalled for. That is AJ saying, I feel that is totally uncalled for. Chris, please explain to the world, or Chrissy, because you're the VW owner in the group, the hell is a triple square?
It's actually exactly what it sounds like. It's 12 points. It's 3 squares on top of each other. So yes, it is like a reverse 12-point Torx.
I was surprised that he didn't add the, I was going to say G12, but that's a Mark IV. I don't
That's
know
the
what
coolant, right?
Yeah. I used to carry around jugs of it
Jugs it's a special coolant. I didn't know
Yes. Oh, yes. Well, in Mark IVs, because that's what I had. Now I think it's a G25.
that. So wait a minute. So let's go back to the triple square. So it's 12 points, but it's not a bolt head.
No, it is female.
It's a
12
female
point.
So you need like a weird Torx looking thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because something has to be
They
difficult.
have that on BMWs though, don't they? Sorry, Chrissy.
No.
No.
No, they don't. BMW likes Audi Torx. Outie, not AUDI.
That's what it is. It's the
Audi,
star.
Audi Torx.
The
Yes.
Yes, the star thing. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. I'm sorry, Chrissy. Go ahead.
Sorry, be able to be on mute. Our cool suit cooler discussion prompted James to say, for the cool suits, a friend of mine would freeze milk jugs of water and swap those out. Freezer at the track with a weekend supply. You don't overflow the water when you swap it too.
Yep.
Not sure.
We've tried things like that in the past, and because milk jugs are so big, like it ends up with a lot of cool water in it with a chunk of ice in the middle. It doesn't really cool the the cool shirt thing down much anymore. You need something a little smaller, like half-gallon jugs. That'd probably be better.
Well, we did like 2 liters for a while.
We did.
Yeah, and we had the same problem with those.
And we tried 6-packs, like literally just little 6-packs of like Aquafina, and it's the same deal. They load in and out very well, but the water flowing by them just doesn't get very cold. And you notice almost immediately. But that's us, and we're very pretentious, obnoxious, serious racers. I don't know.
But we just like to be
Bougie.
cold. Just like that feeling when you turn
if
this cool shirt cooler on the
gonna-
first time when you're hot. It's so great.
If you're gonna go cool shirt, you want
Go big or go
cool.
home.
You know, you don't want like tepid. You want
Yes, exactly. It's not a tepid
cold.
shirt. It's a cool shirt.
That, yes.
Yep.
I want nipples that can cut glass when I turn on that cool shirt
Yeah.
cooler.
just
I
for a little while, and then they can go away.
Yeah.
And I know
Yeah.
we've covered this, but the live bait switch, that's the problem.
Problem.
It's not the problem. That's a
It's a
solution.
solution.
No, because we all crank it up too much.
Oh, I do not.
It's your own fault when you
It
do
is
it,
your
though.
own fault. You know better.
Yep,
Oh,
absolutely.
boy.
Hey, so talking about the E1R race that none of us were able to attend, Tyler said, quote, E1R iRacing was great this week. I got a lap of practice for race 1, got a good start, and led the race for about a third of a lap before smashing the car up and fighting to get back to 8th. Second race, I finally had my Lewis Hamilton moment, started second, lost position to wheel spin, and then took the lead after a few turns and didn't make a mistake the rest of the race. Driving the Radical SR8 at NJMP is unbelievably fun.
Oh,
Great.
Cool.
Thanks, Tyler.
I suck at racing. Update.
So I wrote down everything that happened, and I have buried it in my pile of notes. I apologize. So it was the Trash Series Sprints in the Gladiator. I started out with just me and Bearded Sim Racer out in the commentator booth. Later on, Brandy joined us, and then Hamza joined us, and I actually had to slip out for a prior engagement. They started out in Olton Park with the World Rally Cars, and literally, like, one of the YouTube watchers went, "Why are you running rally cars on a paved surface?" And it was, well, wait till a few minutes later, because they headed to Phoenix for street stocks on a rallycross course.
Nice.
Because why not? There was an excellent DeLorean that someone had turned one of the Camaros into a DeLorean. Fantastic. And the evening wrapped up with the trophy trucks and the street stocks at Laguna Seca, which is always fun because the trophy trucks, the fastest way around is to stay off pavement as much as you possibly can. We had a random winner picked, but I can't remember which truck it was. But if you go back and watch the YouTube broadcast, he had it was the trophy truck, and it had a picture of Dale Earnhardt and then an arrow that said "Much Better Dale" with a picture of Dale Stemple. And I can't argue with any of it. And we all unanimously decided that was the winner just for the theme alone.
Totally.
Cool. We did our regular Monday night E1R race. I believe it's a warm up because they are also going to Gilles Villeneuve circuits, right? Next
Gilles-
week.
Gilles Villeneuve.
And it's Friday. This
Oh, it
week.
is Friday this
It
week.
is Friday.
This week,
Good
yeah,
call.
because
Friday.
of the holiday.
Because holiday weekend. So many of you will probably be hearing this and it'll already be over. But yes, we went to Montreal, right? It's in Montreal.
It is.
No.
This is the Canadian Grand Prix
Yeah, yeah.
track. It's on a man-made island in the middle of the St. Lawrence River in Montreal that was originally made for the World's Fair.
I did not know that. I knew it was on
Fun
an
fact.
island, but I never knew it
You're
was a
full of fun facts.
man-made
I know.
island.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of the track is, apparently, as I read about it, is the roads that were on the island from the World's Fair, and then they kind of made those into a racetrack with some corners and stuff.
Wow, that's cool. We had Miatas, we had TDIs, we had Skippies, we had the McLaren, which was crazy fast, and the Porsche Cayman GT4 and the Mustang, the FR500. I was in the Cayman. Mental, you were there. You were there for the second race, not for the first race.
I was there for the first race. I fought my computer the whole time, but I was also in a Porsche, and despite missing the first 2 laps, I beat you. But
yeah,
you know,
I could not figure that damn track out. I did much better in the second race. Second race was Radicals 49s, the Formula Renault, the Dallara, and the AMG GTs. And I was in the Radical. And man, let me tell you, that Radical sticks. I love the I feel like Superman in the Radical. One person did the Aussie V8 Ford Falcon. That was Tyler. And I was able to like keep up and like almost pass Tyler several times. So that Aussie V8 must be terrible, because
he actually was talking about that in the Discord. He's like, I can't get this thing to like do anything I want it to.
Yeah. The report from Uncle Dave, because I didn't remember, in our Slack channel was he thinks Jay Becker won them both. Mental had sound issues, that's for sure. Then wheel issues. Jeff is still terrible. And Husty says that the Nürburgring is still amazing. And he has like 10 bajillion laps or something. And he was talking about the Nürburgring the whole time. And no Tom Lamino. So the talk was like almost G-rated. There was no like,
the back of everybody's car was safe.
yeah.
And you know who else is also amazing and will keep the back of your car safe?
Just do it. Chrissy's mom.
Chrissy's mom.
Just do it.
That's weird.
It's weird.
It's weird that 192 shows in, we're still doing that same bit.
Hi, Mom.
I feel like we'd heard her
Bingo
feelings the first time we don't. And
We can't stop now. Come on.
Exactly. Of a list of feelings that I'm comfortable hurting in this world, literally like down at the bottom, it's like Chrissy's mom and, you know, just ahead of my wife. Like I'll hurt my dog's feelings before I'll hurt Chrissy's mom's feelings.
Dogs get over it.
Dog will go over
Pretty
it
much,
fast.
yeah,
Yeah.
dog get over it,
Oh, you a pepperoni? Okay, great.
Squirrel. Main topic time.
This hobby is dumb. We all know that, but it's also no different than any other. Stamp collecting, hunting, bicycling, numismatism, restoring old boats. That's the worst hobby ever.
Numismatism? What is that?
Oh, I'm a numismatist. We're numismatists.
Numismatists,
Mm-hmm.
coin collectors.
Coin collecting.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
How about
Yeah, you really
fancy
are full
word.
of fun facts. Now
Ornith-
you're just trying too
Oh
hard.
no, we are. We're that's a thing.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
All these hobbies, you have different levels of commitments, budgets, abilities, desires, and insanity. And to keep this hobby growing, you always need new people to keep excitement and interest and keep it from going away.
Yeah. Now it might be annoying as hell that you're the finger quotes gearhead at work and having young folks ask you all kinds of really dumb questions. True example. I had someone ask me if an intercooler would help their car go faster. They had a non-turbocharged car. And I had to explain to them what an intercooler actually was. But consider this, the way cars are going and really just the truly terrible stuff you see in car movies, even the good car movies, it's completely possible that new enthusiasts just don't know where to go. So right or wrong, they see you with the race photos on your desktop, or you're wearing a team shirt, or you're driving your daily car and it's covered in race stickers. So you're the one that they're going to ask.
So our goal tonight is maybe to help you steer them in a healthy direction, answer some questions, be a good ambassador for the hobby. If you are a new gearhead, hopefully this will give you some direction, build a filter to know when someone is full of crap, or answer some of the very simple questions you might be too shy to ask.
All right. So I want to start with some basics. But let's talk about our pedigrees for a little bit. I grew up in this. I grew up in the back of a rally car, a TSD rally car. My father had MGs and Datsun 2000 fair ladies, and we hung out with people with like Porsches and stuff because he was always involved in the sports car club. Chris, you grew up in this, right? You've been around British cars. Your mother had a British car.
The first British car we had was my 1960 MG that when I was 15. My dad like knew how to work on stuff a little, like, we'd change the spark plugs in the boat and stuff, but that's it. I just started taking stuff apart and occasionally I got it back together.
You worked professionally in the car biz for a little bit, right?
A little bit. Yeah. Mostly, but I just learned by, I done took that apart. If I want it to work again, I got to figure it out. And a lot of struggle and occasional success.
I should also mention my grandfather was a diesel mechanic. Mm-hmm. So I had a mechanic in the family. But my father can't turn a wrench at all. He just loved cars. Chrissy Mental, tell us about your background. You were a youth. How'd you get into this?
Yeah. I've told this story 100 times. I wasn't really allowed to. My dad came home one time and the hood was up on my car and he's like, "What's the matter with it?" And I said, "Nothing. He cut me off. They put the hood down. Why are you messing with it? You're going to break it." So I had to learn all this stuff as I got older. And I being stubborn and probably suffering some sort of undiagnosed learning disability and just being me, I've got to do everything the hard way, which is, we know, take it apart and then it doesn't go back together. So I just get a bigger hammer.
I owned a Volkswagen for my first car. So I learned how to do everything by default.
Oh, I have you beat. I own an International Harvester.
Oh, sure. I'm just saying that's how
worse.
No,
maybe not.
Mark IV. I mean, I'm telling you, like when I bought it, whatever. That's a dumb story. Anyway, I had problems with it since the day I bought it, so I learned the hard way.
Having owned a Mark II GTI, Chrissy totally wins that argument.
Oh, Mark IIs are fine. Yeah, Mark IVs are bad. That's the problem.
But before you even had a car, was there any kind of car influence? You read car magazines, anything?
Nope. Well, it's the ex-husband was what got me started in actually understanding some parts of cars. They take apart and not put back together. That was a thing.
Yeah, I read Car and Driver since the time I could read. But anyway, let's start with some basics. Okay, here's some basics understandings that I think we need to get out.
Well, before you do that, tell them what the point of the show is. Read that last line.
Hopefully we can save you some frustration, embarrassment, and money, which if you're going to be in this hobby, you're going to need a lot of it. Cool. And really, I like what Chris said earlier. We want to open the sport to the youth. And we want to make sure there are people to take this sport on. And I just don't mean like endurance racing. I mean car stuff. And that's what we're going to talk about. Let's talk about one thing. Chrissy, I believe you're the youngest person on the podcast, but I hate to break it to you. You're old.
I know.
Thanks. Our methods are old. Magazines don't exist anymore. Every host on Top Gear is like way past retirement age. Message boards are like not like the TikTok people have no idea what that means.
Yeah, but like Reddit's a thing, and
Reddit is a thing. We're gonna definitely talk about that, but we're old and we don't get it sometimes. So if you hear us saying something on this podcast and you're like, "Those stupid old people," you write us and you tell us what is cool because we don't know. All right.
Put it in the doodly-doo.
You put it in the doodly-doo if you're here on
not YouTube's. The doodly-doo.
And in general, we're going to say we need to embrace what we don't understand. Hella Flush looks really dumb to us, but drifting's cool. I went to a drift event at New Hampshire. They had it at Pittsburgh, and it was filled with young people having a blast. It's not my sport, but I said, this looks cool and fun. I took my nephew, who is a college sophomore, to an autocross with my beat-ass Miata, and there were very few young people. And from an outside person, it didn't look fun.
Oh, I don't want to be old.
Yeah,
I don't mind being old. I don't want to be lame.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think autocrossing is lame, but I'm saying that I don't think the youth is picking it up. And this is the last thing I'm going to say, and then we're going to jump into stuff. gatekeeping is not cool under any circumstances. If you think your part of the hobby is cooler than someone else's, get that crap out of here. Okay. Or this car doesn't belong in this show because it's just not weird enough or not cool enough or not brown enough, or it's an automatic or whatever. You got to open the doors for everybody. You can't say that's not cool. Okay. So if the kids want to have a 2-step contest and you're like, I don't know what that is, you go check it out and you try and learn, try and embrace it. Don't yuck someone else's yum is really what I'm trying to say.
Unless you're trying to bring a flat black BMW to Lemons, and then that's
still, just lazy.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to ridicule you.
If there's an Iron Duke in it, then you win. But otherwise, you're just being lazy.
But we wouldn't kick them out.
No, absolutely not.
Yes.
We'll just encourage them to get a little more fun.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
exactly.
All right. So let's start with what I wish I knew when I started. Whew. I had high school shop class, and I actually learned stuff in there, even though I like hung out with my mechanic grandfather and had been wrenching for a very long time. Stupid class, you might actually learn some stuff. So why not take it? And then it's okay to be whatever you're into. I was into trucks for a long time. I the International Scout, I read like Peterson's 4-wheel and off-road and, like whatever. And that's the next thing I'm going to say is consume all the media you want, and don't let not having the stuff you see on the blog or in the magazine or on the show or on the YouTube channel, just because you don't have it, don't let that stop you from going out and doing stuff. If you want to off-road your Suzuki not even Suzuki Samurai, that's too old. If you want to off-road your RAV4, do it, whether you have those great tires or not. If you don't have money for the turbo, that doesn't mean you shouldn't drive flat out.
No, if you want to off-road your friggin' Buick Century, look up the Gambler 500. Do it.
Yeah, do it. That's what I'm saying. Do it.
Yep. I wish when I started, I knew that projects are always going to take 3 times as long and cost 3 times as much as you expect. So be careful of how big a project you get into. Don't just go, I'm going to take everything apart and cut all these things out. Slow your roll a little bit. Start small. Get some small successes. It'll start to snowball, but you've got to start somewhere. Do something small to start.
And are along the same lines. All car hobbies are expensive. It's funny because I wrote this before we even started talking about my Volkswagen problem. Some people are smart and tell you not to invest in bad car brands. Maybe you should consider listening to them.
Or at least consider that money gone. You're never getting
or
it
you
back.
Don't know how much it's going to be just trying to hold on to something that you love or you thought you loved.
Yeah. That's a good one. Mine is just get over yourself. Ask the dumb questions. If the person you're asking that dumb question mocks you for not knowing the answer to that dumb question, go find some new people. You need a new mentor. I wasted so much of my life when I was in my 20s trying to keep this I'm a car guy image, and there was just so much I didn't know, to the point I didn't know what I didn't know. And I could have been so much farther along if I just would have asked dumb questions before the internet, before the magazine. And now you have that advantage. So never be afraid to ask a really dumb question. Everyone facing me on the screen right now has done that. They have asked, or I have asked them a really dumb question. And to their credit, they've all kind of looked at me a little bit and went, how is it you don't know that? And then explained it. And it's always worked out better for me. Probably not for any of you guys, but I'm smarter.
And we were there too. I mean, when we built that first Wartburg with crazy man Jim Thwaite, who's out there, like, I did not know how to do half the crap I knew by the end of that project. And jumping in and doing is like the way to do it. I mean, he said, do this. I said, what, me?
We still do that. Like
That's
work
true.
weekends, we still do a lot of stretch projects with adult supervision, but that gets everyone better confidence. Like
Yeah.
no
Which
matter what it is.
is that? Did we get over there? Yes, we are.
We're there.
Whew. So, what I wish young folks knew, and it's perfect because what I was about to say is the stretch project. You can find out how to do everything these days. The amount of stuff that is on the internet, like I couldn't figure out how to change a light bulb in a car, and I YouTubed it, and there was a guy showing me how to do it. And it was a BMW, and you had to take off the inner fender liner. But in past years, when I was a kid, the old man says with conviction, we had to like find that crap in books, and if you didn't have the right book, you had to go buy the book, and you had to go to like
Or the
what is on-
library might have had it.
exactly.
Then you have to charge for photocopies of those pages that
Yeah.
you needed.
People still do that. Let me tell you.
YouTube, no, they don't. They just look it up on YouTube.
Oh, they do.
YouTube has some jerk off doing every single thing to every single car on the planet. You can find it, and sometimes it's a good video and sometimes it isn't, but just buy that hoopty. You got to fix it to go to school, do the stretch project. Yes, you might not have a clue how to do that head gasket, but you're going to learn. And if you don't, the bus is there. If you don't have it done by Monday, take the bus, fix it Monday night, keep working. Mental.
When I couldn't get into the Mercedes because the battery was dead, I literally sat there while I was waiting for Vicky to bring me extra batteries for the keys. And I Googled every possible, and there were people that they drill all the way down. Today, I'm going to show you how to get into your 1987 Mercedes CLK from this serial number to this serial number, if this very specific set of circumstances has happened. So yes, there is, if you're savvy with the interwebs, there's always an answer.
But you may
None of them
have-
worked. And then Vicky brought me the batteries so that a key, and it all worked for me.
Well,
then,
that's
but
the
yeah.
answer. And sometimes, we do this. I sit in the car, we go through and say, this needs to be done. I've sat and said, how do I dismantle the shifting knob and all of the parts inside of it on the Z? Go. This has to happen. Look it up. So it happens now, even though that we think we know what we're talking about.
Yep. Actually, Jeff, I like what your last bit of this here is. You've got that hoopty. You need that hoopty to get you to school. Having to fix it to get you to school is gonna teach you something. That's for sure. Yep.
Humility.
Yep. And better than having to do it before work, because you
Ugh.
can usually get a ride to school. All right. Other thing I would like the young youths to know is just the basics to be self-sufficient, like checking oil, like the fact that oil is important and you should check it so you don't blow up a motor. How to change a tire, how even just to put air in a tire, and like to know like where do I find the placard in the door jamb that says the number of air, instead of just,
That's
I don't know,
great tip.
like it says 50 on the side of the tire. That's right. And then no, that's too much. Like things like that. Really just being able to help yourself instead of just calling AAA for the most basic things. That's what I wish the youths would know. Mental.
There was a commercial for an insurance company out there about, it was comparing this insurance company to that insurance company. He goes, oh yes, they were able to help our young man when he got a flat tire. Then it shows the other one where the kid is calling his dad, trying to find out how to change a flat tire. And dad has no idea how to change a flat tire.
Oh, I remember that.
And it was an infuriating commercial to me because, yeah, okay, I get what you're trying to say about your roadside assistance. But if you've sent your child, your own DNA into the world without knowing how to change a tire, do you not love them? Or, I mean, there are any number of places where you're not going to get cell reception, or the battery, or they don't have 2 hours to wait because they're on the side of a busy road and they need this very basic skill set. And if you, as the grown-up, don't have that skill set, you need to find someone who does and teach your child to do that before you set them off.
And that's tough. Y'all remember I talked about I guess he's a 13-year-old now, 14-year-old who wants to learn about how to race cars, and he brought up
Your intern?
my intern. Yes. The intern, which I really have to email and invite him to NJMP now that there will be guests. but his dad doesn't know anything about cars. And his son got into cars by watching NASCAR, and he wants to be a professional racer, and et cetera, and so forth. It took a little bit of checking his bravado at the door and not losing to his own masculinity and saying, "Hey, Jeff, can you help me?" And right then, I'm just going to say, if you think this is a masculinity thing, and Chrissy, we always talk about feminism and girls belong in motorsports, etc. But if you feel like less of a man because you don't know how to change a tire, get over it. This
And
is
learn.
not.
If you think you're less of
not on
a human
chromosome.
because you can't change a tire, learn how to change a tire.
Yeah.
No, anybody who has a car should know this. This is not a man and woman thing.
Exactly.
And there's everybody there. I know some young women who own cars and don't know what the genie lamp is. My family will be laughing because we said, "What is the genie lamp?" Yeah, when you see the genie lamp, we're a little too late.
You have to put stuff in the 710 cap when you see
yes.
the genie lamp.
Right.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Chrissy. I think
Oh, it's actually my turn. So I feel like if you have a car, more you push your car, the easier when you're trying to race or try. I guess this is more towards when you want to be a race car driver. You know how to find the limit. I know where the limit is. So find a cheap car, take it out in the snow in a parking lot, and or in a dirt pit or whatever you have around, and hoon it. I feel like I wish I did that, and I didn't do it when I could have, and you all did. So that's gonna get you if you want to be a race car driver. That's a good thing to have.
Yeah. How did those people who live where there isn't snow learn how to drive in slippery situations?
Dirt roads.
I said dirt pit,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess.
mud.
sand, something.
Yeah, lots of
Yep.
mud.
Just wet because they all have bald tires because they're not used to
They
doing
don't
things
need
right.
to.
Those kids in North Carolina, right?
And we don't know how to change them.
Georgia, yeah.
Yeah, we have bald tires. We don't know how to change them. My thing is hope is a wonderful thing to have. It is never a course of action. So embrace this reality. Your vehicle is going to break, and it is going to break at the absolute worst possible time. Jeff mentioned the bus. If you're going to start tearing into your car, or if you only have one car, have a plan for when it breaks. And that could be literally as simple as a bicycle bus schedule, depending on where you live, or if you've got a good sized distance to commute, maybe not try to modify anything outside of understanding that basic maintenance. Yeah.
Hey, if you're a car person, you're going to make friends with car people. So when yours breaks, tell them to come pick you up. My friend had a 77 Triumph Spitfire. I had a 73 International Scout. The chances of both of them functioning on the same week were pretty slim. But we always got to school.
Yeah.
We only raced Joey 5-0 once onto the school grounds.
Not for pinks though.
No.
Good.
All right. So what's next? Get
Suggestions.
started. Yeah, how to get started. Get your hands dirty. If you got a problem, watch the YouTube video, look at the manual, and just take it step by step. This was every car. It was built by a person. Well, mostly, or it can be built and rebuilt by a person. That means you can do it too with the right knowledge and tools. So start small, get your hands dirty, do it. And if you have someone willing to let you help them, in quotes, take them up on it. You be the intern, get the adult supervision. They'll let you do some smaller projects. You do those successfully, you can do some little bigger projects. You get success there, you do a little bigger projects. You're going to make mistakes because that's how you learn. But when you've got the adult supervision, the consequences of it are usually pretty low. So do it.
I had written something down at the bottom of these show notes as we started.
Do it.
It was just
Do it.
all hard things that I've learned over the years. And then I kind of sprinkled these in here, and there's a couple of things in here. When you're solving a problem in the car, you're going to have to take it back apart, and you're almost certainly going to have to take it back apart more than once, which is going to help you get good at it. But I remember putting a clutch in an RX-7 one time, and I got to where I could take that transmission out in 15 minutes because I had to do it 14 times because I kept missing one little step. There is no such thing as magic in a bottle. Nothing in a bottle is going to fix your radiator, fix your transmission, fix your engine, fix your electrical. If it says pour this in and your problems go
It might
away,
be temporary though.
right
At
out of the
best.
gate, never. It might
Head
be, but
gasket in a bottle. It's copper. It's got to work.
it really doesn't, and it's going to make your life harder. Just understand. And that brings me to my next point, which when I was trying to do my plumbing issue, why I stayed up all night. If you find yourself slathering any sort of sealant or JB Weld or silicone or gasket in a tube or whatever it is, it's broken. Even if it's a new part, you broke it, it's leaking, get a new one, stop. You're just making your life miserable and frustrating. And to really emphasize what Chris said, take it apart slow. Make notes. Take pictures. You all have cell phones with cameras on them. Take pictures. Use sandwich bags and lunch bags and label them, because as you lay this all out, you're like, I'm just going to put this right here because I'll be doing this again in 20 minutes. Something's going to come up. You're going to get delayed. You're going to get distracted. You're going to get pulled away. And then you're going to have to try and figure out what bolt goes where. And anything that you help to help you reconstruct the crime scene of what you just took apart is going to make your life easier. And that is a lesson I learn again and again on a weekly basis.
Blue tape and a Sharpie on both sides of every connector you undo. Then you know where it goes.
God, yes.
This all makes me think of, I'm sorry, not Mental is the only one not going to get this, but taking apart Moe's E30.
Oh,
36, yes.
36, yeah. When we took it apart, he had a little notepad and it had number 1 and everything had a number that
Every
correlated
connector had
and
a
it went.
number.
And so he insisted on it. He
It
said,
worked.
wait, what'd you undo? Wait, where did that go? And he would have to
And
write it
there
down.
was like
So
3-digit numbers. Like
Oh,
there was
yeah.
over 100 connectors
Oh,
labeled.
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like 142.
most
that's
of
a
the
blah,
time
blah,
you just
blah.
were like, well, I think this went here because this is how long it is and this is where it went. But it helps.
Double
It-
check. It's good.
Yeah, it's good.
Cardboard, like chunks of cardboard with holes in them for bolts that you pull out
Yep.
of specific covers, especially if the bolts are all different lengths, like they like to do on timing covers and
I
motorcycle
always
covers.
kick that over and then lose track.
Don't
Yep.
put it on the floor. Floor is only for things that you do not know what they are.
Not milk. Egg cartons are good for
Yes.
stuff like that too.
Oh,
We're
that's a
keeping
good
them
one.
separate.
That's a really good one.
All right. Next suggestion for how to get people started. To get started driving, the Street Survival School, typically put on by Tire Rack and BMW Club. It's a great way to teach car control skills focused on teens and accident avoidance. And it gives them a safe place to understand what happens when your car gets to its limit. Like what happens when you step on the brake pedal as hard as you can. And then you realize, oh, you know what? That's not as hard as I can. I can brake harder than that. Like then what happens when the ABS comes on? People don't know, or the first time it comes on, they panic and they get off the brakes. The brakes failed. No, they didn't. That's what they do. Like, how do you swerve around something? If you don't know how hard your car can swerve, you might just not and just hit something. So they teach all that kind of thing. I think it's a great program. Everyone thinks it's great. And once you've done that, or if you already know how to drive a bit, get started with some kind of basic performance driving. Autocross, it's low risk, low cost, low stress, and your car control skills that you'll learn from it will be great. Find the guy with the biggest hat at the autocross, and he is probably the one you will learn from because he's been doing this a while and knows the tricks. Track Night in America is a great low stress way to actually get out on track and do HPDE stuff. And if your car's good enough to do an HPDE, there's just most of the big clubs have a good solid learning programs in HPDE 1. Get started.
Don't let not having a good car stop you.
Yeah.
You
What's
can
the
go
worst
to an
car
autocross in your mother's old minivan.
Yeah. Like, what's the worst car you can remember seeing at an autocross or on track? Like, first one that comes to mind, I was at a NASA HPDE 1. A student had a gold 09 Corolla base model automatic on steel wheels and all season tires. And I was like, that's
Awesome.
fantastic. They're going to learn a lot and have a good time. Why not?
I was at an autocross and a guy was in town for a business trip in Oklahoma City, and he had a Chevy Cavalier rental, and he brought it out. He's like, "Oh, I was on the website, saw an autocross, came out here and did it."
Yeah. I would say that even though this SCCA autocross that I went to was pretty open, there was not a single, the machinery was pretty intimidating. There was a lot of Mustangs, a lot of Focus STs and Fiesta STs and ton of Miatas. I would feel weird showing up in my Buick Skylark. So sorry, show up, feel weird. Trust me, no one was going to judge you. But if you rolled in something weird, you'd feel a little weird.
Some of the people there will like it.
Absolutely.
There was somebody be like, "You're awesome. This is
I
great."
I agree. But I hear all the time from my students, my college students, because a bunch of them are there. A bunch of my college students go to the autocrosses. Oh, I'm gonna, autocross coming up next weekend. You going? Oh, my car. It's my tires are bald, or my new shocks aren't in, or my whatever. Like, lame. Just go. Just go.
I don't know how many times I've heard too, I'm totally going to go to Grid Life, or I'm going to go to this, or I'm going to go to that as soon as I get part X.
Exactly. As soon as I get part
X. You never need part X unless it's safety. Like as soon as I get a seatbelt, I'm going to go.
You need that.
Okay. That
brake
one.
pads.
But
brake pads.
Yeah, okay. Brake pads. Sure. But if you're looking for a high performance part that you need, no, just go.
Yeah. I see that being the what's holding a lot of them back.
Yeah. To that end, if you're going to invest in something and you're going to start autocrossing, especially if it's your only car, as soon as you possibly can, you want to get a set of street and a track set of wheels and tires. And like your street tires could just be Steely's that you found at the junkyard with Douglas All Track, extra seasons. I don't know what that means. Extra seasons. But and then you've got your
season.
You put on the paprika.
Yeah, exactly.
This don't do nothing for seasoning. It's just for color.
Yeah, just for, but then you get your Wagner organic power stop brake pads, and you save the good brake pads for when you're just at the track.
Mental. I'm going to disagree with you there.
Ooh, okay.
I think that's a barrier to entry. I don't think you need to feel like you need to have that. I think
no, not need to have it. Just it's if you continue to do it. That's where I'm going. But you're right. Go for it.
Okay, yeah. Like if you want to get started and you have Wagner extra quiet, 5 seasons. Great, go for it. As long as there's tread on them, put some air in them and go. Your organic quiet stops are probably not going to handle the racetrack, but they'll handle the autocross okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find dual duty stuff that will do it okay for an occasional use. Like you can get the Continental ECS that's going to do fine on track. It can't handle endurance racing, but it'll be fine on lapping days.
Mm-hmm.
Like a Hawk HP Plus or HPS pad, HPS actually, that will handle performance stuff in small doses, and it's a totally streetable pad. So once you're into it, sure, but don't let that hold you back.
And I'm sorry if I phrased it the wrong way. That was where I was going. Once you're into it, you can bring the crappy last forever tires to the autocross, and then you don't worry about tearing them up. And if you're going to go down this route, you're going to want a good jack and a good set of jack stands. Even if you don't have a place where you can work on your car, you can do that usually at the autocross. And to this end, Harbor Freight actually sells good jacks and good jack stands, and they're not that expensive.
I'll just throw out there, I love the Power Stop Z32, or Z23, excuse me, not 32. That's a Z car. The Evolution pads, they are great dual use pads, and they are only a few dollars more than your Wagners. But use the Wagners. When you do that brake job, that's when you upgrade. Don't wait.
McDonald's has an entire menu that's only a few dollars more than the Wagners, but yeah,
it's true.
They're organic. They're made of wood.
Made of wood. Jacks and jack stands. You're absolutely right. Ask family for tools for Christmas.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Especially safety related things. Because
yes,
moms love to buy safety stuff.
Go ahead, Chrissy.
I don't even want to say this one.
I'll throw it out there.
I wrote it, but so I said read card magazines, and when we started this, we said nobody reads car magazine because they write on the internet now. The internet.
Read your car magazines on the internet.
Sure, yes, but read good ones. So that's a good way to learn some lingo. You can learn different kinds of racing, and you just kind of what's out there. But then you understand parts of the car. There's ads for tires. You start learning things of what things are good for. I don't know, read car magazines, but
I will say you're absolutely right that the ads in a car magazine will give you way more information than the first 10 seconds of whatever bullshit is on that YouTube channel that probably doesn't have anything to do with cars. But in a car magazine or a performance centered car magazine, if it's an off-road magazine, you're going to have advertisement for off-road tires and off-road parts. So it's much more specific. Chrissy, good thought. Keep going.
Okay. I just felt like that's an old person thing. So if
It
Chris
is.
reads
Person,
if there's a
yeah.
stack of 95 GRMs next to Chris's bedside, that means it's an old person thing. So there's that. Right there. He already read that one at the beach on Sunday. That Jeff just held up on a GRM. Anyway, I said car specific. Oh, I didn't say this. I said enthusiast forums, and then we filled in a bunch here. GRM is a favorite of all of ours, so that's definitely a good place to go. A lot of the forums on GRM, Chris actually lives on the GRM forums. And I said, what are you reading about now? Oh, we're reading about somebody's house project when they did this and blah, blah, blah. And he learns all kinds of crap there. Yes, Mental.
The hallmark of the Grassroots Motorsports Forum, and there is a link in our show notes, is that they are the least judgmental corner of the internet in the history of the internet. You can go in there and ask the most bonehead question, and someone will painstakingly explain to you the answer.
I'll be very nice about it. Or sometimes. I don't know.
Search, noob.
Unlike the next one that Chrissy is about to suggest.
Oh, well, so I did, and I skipped over car specific Reddit because I don't know. I'm sure there are some, but it seems like
there is a Reddit for every single car model out there.
There's a
I'm a
Reddit for
member of the
everything
Mazda 3 Reddit, but
Oh.
they will tear you a new one. That's like VW Vortex level. Of,
that's
you are a noob.
There
Do
you
not
go.
ask
Bring
that
it
question.
back. All right. So go there with careful.
Flame-proof skin.
Be careful.
No, read. Don't post unless you're
Sure. Well, you might want to be wary of what you're reading too. You never know. If it's kind of an open forum, you end up with some people that may not be giving you the best information. Anyway, Lemons Forum. So I think the Lemons Forum has been, I actually asked Chris earlier because he doesn't do social media. I think it's pretty slow these days. So I'm not really sure that you'll get a whole lot from them.
old people stuff.
Right.
But if you ask a specific question, you're most likely going to get a well thought out, polite answer, even if you think it's a dumb question. It's another
only
polite.
It'll probably be Chris Egan.
Right. It's only old people. It's only old people that go to the forums anymore because I don't do social media.
Well,
so I go to the forum.
Well, there's a lot to search there too. That's a nice thing that's not on social media. There's no search button to you lose historical information.
Like an old person there.
Uh-huh.
I don't like social media.
But yeah, Chris Egan's going to give you good advice.
Absolutely, every time.
Actually, the Facebook groups are very filled with good advice also.
I think that's where we're getting at. I'm not sure what the next one is.
And then bickering
mental?
over various.
So it's Rob Siegel, and he's AKA the Hack Mechanic. He wrote a couple of books, and we've got to get a link to that on our show notes. But he writes for Haggerty now, and it is called The Hack Mechanic, and he will happily write not just about what he gets right, but what he gets wrong. And one of the pieces he wrote recently was he referenced it in an article where he was hanging out with Magnus Walker, and he felt bad because he sent Magnus Walker out on outdated tires, and he was really worried that he was going to kill America's favorite Porsche outlaw. And he referenced an article where he had his own tire pass him because he failed to tighten it down properly. And
it's fun when that happens.
Yeah, as someone who makes a lot of mistakes, I've been forced to learn from my mistakes. So I learn more from getting it wrong than I do get it right. But it's a whole lot more efficient if I can learn from someone else getting it wrong. So
that's kind of the basis of our entire show.
It really is.
Learn from our mistakes.
Yes. Yeah. And I threw these last two in there, but if you want to, I'll take, okay. And then the other one is, it's a Facebook group, and it's called Unless John Pagel Signs Off, It's Probably a Bad Idea. It is a private Facebook group, but if you apply, they'll usually let you in. Now, it's very technical, and there is a lot of smart ass on there, but John Pagel himself, if you read his answers, he is happily going to explain any reasoning behind his judgment on a safety item. And if you contact him directly, a lot of people will tell you that John Pagel's a jerk and he does this or he does that. But having dealt with the guy personally 100 times, He's highly intelligent. He wants you to be safe. He doesn't want anyone to die, and he doesn't want anyone in a dangerous car. And he'll walk you through why something's dangerous. So
He's
if you
also
find
a
his,
professional cage builder with years and years of race car building experience.
and before that, he owned a dyno
yeah.
that he ran. So he knows a lot of stuff. And so if you read his stuff, you're going to learn. And if you don't understand what he's talking about and you ask him for clarification, he'll explain it to you. He really will.
Yeah, there's a Facebook group for everything. I recently joined the LS 300Z LS swap Facebook group that I didn't know existed until 2 days ago.
Now he's the president.
I posted a picture of our Z32 with the 4.8 and a guy with it who's about to start a Z32 with a 4.8 like messaged me like 37 different questions and I answered them all. And I'm
don't do it.
No.
Just don't.
I answered them all.
Find a
with good
friend who's a
information.
really good fabricator and give him the car for the winter, and you'll get it back.
You will have to go to his house several times.
But they will feed. Hopefully, they'll feed you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they've got a great washing machine. Your
Yeah.
laundry's done every morning. It's great.
The amount of technical questions that he gave me that were so I don't want to say simple to answer because if I hadn't done it, I wouldn't know the answer. But you have to be okay answering questions. Like we keep saying, it's okay to ask questions. Old people, it's okay to answer the questions and don't be snippy about it.
It's also okay to say, I have no idea.
True.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Another one I'll say here is in-person car shows and meetups. It's a way to talk to people. And now that we can actually go to things if you've got your vaccine and talk to people, great. People there want to talk about their car. They want to talk to you about it. Let them. Sometimes you'll say, oh, this guy's completely full of it, has no idea what he's doing. That's okay. Smile and nod and say thank you and talk to somebody else then. That's fine. There's all types. You'll learn something, but you got to talk to people and they want to talk to you. Even the introverts, they're at a car meet. They want to talk to somebody at least a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much a car meet is a chance for me to talk about my car endlessly to random people who walk by. So it's perfectly okay.
And this has been one of my accidental greatest successes that I've had in this hobby is that you build a network of trusted advisors and start that as soon as possible and consult them before you start a job. Hey, I'm about to do this. I've done this research. And they'll either go, all right, well, good luck, or, send you a website. But the bigger your network of people that you trust and that have given you good advice in the past, the easier your life gets with a lot of things.
Nice.
They'll probably tell you, hey, go listen to the E1R podcast show number 102. And they talk about this in this episode.
I've never said that ever.
Okay.
Except to the guy about the 300Z just earlier today. Media, I already said consume all of the media. I already said that YouTube is your friend. There are some legit shows out there. Yes, Top Gear is for fogies. The American Top Gear is not as funny, but anything you're doing to learn about cars is great. And they talk about a lot of crazy cars. But I'm going to throw out some really specific ones out there. Money Pit on the Donut Media YouTube is fantastic. Guy's building a Miata and he shows you everything and it's very reasonable and he does it all in his driveway with hand tools. Sam Crack, watch JR go, even Tavarish. I know he's got 3 million probably at this point watchers. And yes, he built a Lambo, but he did it in a garage with hand tools. And now, yeah, he's got a big giant garage, but in his house garage. So you can find things like B is for Build, the Fabricator series. I love Hannah's Bug. Has anybody ever seen Hannah's Bug? She's like a 12-year-old with a Volkswagen Beetle who is like, today I'm going to learn to weld. And she starts welding and it's pretty amazing. Like, they told me to do this on a plate. Tomorrow I'll do it on the Bug. And it's pretty amazing. I know people are still typing stuff. Mental, do you just want to, whoever's typing, just go ahead and shout them out?
All right, sorry. I was so the Haggerty is actually really building their YouTube channel right now, and Jason, they've got Jason Camisa doing a lot of explaining kind of bits. One of his better ones out there is how the plane of a crankshaft affects the sound of the exhaust, and he walks it through in very basic terms, and it's really well done. They've got any car that you're just interested in. They've got a group of people, and then they've got the rated and reviewed, where they take a journalist and a race car driver and have them go head to head in a different car, but you'll still learn a lot of technical concepts of why a car is the way it is, and a lot of driving technique as well. And Haggerty is aggressively trying to build their YouTube audience and catch up with their rivals in the motor trend market.
I don't know if you've heard the most recent Apex adjacent, but they talked to it was Patrick George. I can't remember who it was they were talking to.
Yes, actually, yeah, Patrick George.
They really talked about what the new media was and how important YouTube is in the landscape of automotive culture right now. And they're not wrong.
No,
there's a lot of YouTube content.
Okay.
Cool.
Lastly, I added this. If you're a car person, or at least you have general knowledge, trying to spread the wealth of information about cars of anything, but also have an access to a general kid event like summer school, summer camps. I'm thinking like scouts, community centers. See if a shop is going to come out and talk some basics. If you don't think that you can do it. And this was actually prompted, Chris had mentioned about 2 summers ago, I ran a quick event. It was probably an hour, but it was downtown, and I brought all the stuff with me and explained to a whole bunch of, I think it was just girls at the time. And it was all about just car basics. So I made them a cheat sheet and told them how to change a tire and where some, just look for dripping things under your hood, and, just kind of real basics. But that could be get some people interested. And you never know, if you've got some kids that are engineers and they're saying, well, I never really thought about dealing with cars, but I didn't know anything about it now. And this could be all ages too, really. It might be interesting to kind of show kids that aren't necessarily driving age, if they're just interested in kind of kicking things around.
Cool.
If nothing else, they'll learn some mechanics feed me a line of crap about this. And I remember when I was at scout camp, this cool person with an NSX said, so I'm going to go with, you're full of crap. Yeah.
I definitely didn't use that as the example car, but that would confuse a lot of kids.
I say, do you own a car that is not cool as hell? That would not be fun to take down there and show off.
So truth, I took the 5 because the 3 was down for something. I don't remember what it was.
I will say, Chris, that I shared a bunch of pictures of the Z build with my new friend on the Z thing, and he said, oh my God, that NSX is amazing, and it's my favorite car, and I have wanted one since I was 8 years old, and I just love NSXs. And I said, oh, sorry, not mine.
All right. As we were hacking this all up, this whole thing kind of came out a little bit quick. Some additional websites, and these were also located there. Car Bibles. I actually interviewed for a position with them, but they wanted someone full time, and I got the full vision of what they want Car Bibles to be. And they want Car Bibles to be kind of an internet blog version of this exact episode, where people who like cars and maybe don't know it and don't understand it can go there. It's a subsidiary of The Drive. It all falls under Brookline Media, but Car Bibles is an interesting place to go. And there's a lot of people that are doing some kind of dumb things, which I admire. Like one person has bought a Land Rover off Craigslist and are dealing with everything that you're going to deal with a Land Rover you brought off a Craigslist, that sort of stuff. I also
Who would buy a cheap Land Rover.
No, that'd be
from
terrible.
someone you don't know. That's the key. You buy a Land Rover from
true.
a guy you know.
That's true.
We also had the link for the Track Night in America Grid Life. If you just kind of like cars and you don't know what you like about cars, Grid Life is a great.
Hell yeah. And Luda might play. Luda!
Absolutely. But their mission is to kind of bring back all the facets of the hobby back under one roof. Show cars, the hella flush guys, the drifters, the time attack, the HPD instruction. That all happens in one weekend. And then there's a music festival, and they are all over the country now. That is a fantastic time. We've got a link to the Donut Media TV and some other YouTube channels. Do we have anything before I go into my other painful observations?
I'm showing Chris the Land Rover Discovery Series 1 car Bible.
That's great.
Yeah.
I had a series 2. So did Mental.
Yes, it was.
I'll find the Series 2.
It was my favorite car I'd ever bought from Chris until I bought my last car from Chris. All right. I just threw this out there because I had a lot of PTSD as soon as we started typing this up, and just stuff I wish I knew, and so many frustrating nights. And to cut to the chase, my entire actual career trajectory was altered by the fact that I liked cars. I lacked ability, and I lacked the ability to make things happen that I wanted to happen. At 3:00 in the morning, I was underneath my Mark II Volkswagen GTI after I had broken it trying to do a modification for an autocross. It was 40 degrees. I was doing this on the street, and I had exactly 3 hours before I had to go inside, take a shower, and drive this car to work. And it was the worst sensation to this day that I've ever had in my life. Just this pressure. I had to have something done, and I had no idea what I was doing. And I realized that I have really got to alter my life and really start learning a lot of things about cars. So to that end, never get yourself in that position. So I, as we're writing this, I had a lot of these. The first one is, if you finally can't fix it, you have to take it to a professional. Yeah, it's going to be expensive. You're not giving up. And that references that earlier comment about just get over yourself. All right. Ask the dumb question. Learn what you don't know. Anybody around the room? Nope. Yeah. Mental's an idiot. We'll stick with that one. My next thing is invest in good tools. I, for the longest time, tried to get through life with a Phillips head screwdriver and a pair of vice grips. You're going to have to get good tools, and you're going to have to get the correct tools. You're going to take care of them. You want to just don't leave them around. Don't leave them out in the rain. Don't let them rust. Have a place for them. Have an accountability procedure for them, because things like to walk off, particularly socket wrenches and tools. You don't need the snap-on tool truck stuff right away, but you're going to need good tools. And that cheapo socket set you bought at CVS at 2:00 in the morning because you needed a socket set at 2:00 in the morning on the bottom markdown shelf ain't going to cut it. Ask me how I know that specific of an answer. But once you know what, yeah, really? Well, yeah. It was actually, it was an all-night Walmart, but yeah, once you know what good tools are, then Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, flea markets, yard sales, these are all your friend, because you can buy one-offs and stuff that doesn't continue anymore, and quality, good made tools. And it may not be a matching set, but it is absolutely going to do the job you need to do. And it's going to do it repeatedly. I was at the junkyard last month, and I needed 1 or 2 months ago, because it was before the rally, I needed one very specific Torx head screwdriver of all things that I had not brought with me. But there was a guy out front of the U-Pull-It selling tools that he bought at a yard sale. And I go out there and I look through, I found exactly the one I wanted. It was a Snap-on. He wanted like $2 for it. I picked up another screwdriver that was $1, and I gave him $5 and thanked him for his time. So once you know what you're looking for, you can actually find good tools, and you don't have to pay those big prices for it.
I'm going to plug Harbor Freight. They do have decent stuff.
The new Icon series is worth it.
You don't even need a new Icon. Just don't buy the cheapest on the list.
Well, but if it's something that you hammer with or hammer against, grab the cheapest one they have. I don't.
Yes, true.
And there are times for the cheap stuff. If it's the one you leave in a car, or like in our case, I bought one. The typical blow mold, 100-piece kit of things. I leave it in the boat. I know it's going to get trashed, but also someday I might need one of those various things. So that's the time and place for the cheap stuff.
Yep. Buy the middle line stuff. The middle line stuff is just as good as Craftsman was 20 years ago. And I still have my Craftsman. They sit next to each other in the box.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. I think there might be more on this. I think we might actually talk to some youth and have some like interview stuff coming soon. So if there's anything that you want to talk about with getting young people involved in the sport, or if you think all those old fogies didn't say the right stuff, now's the time to write it in, because we're going to probably come back to this topic. Anything else for the good of the order before I say, do we have a hella sweet or a but terrible or an on the spot?
All right, dude, don't do that.
Maybe not.
I think you just gave us a dude don't do that of the buying that cheapo socket set from the Walmart all night Walmart rack. That's the don't do that, dude. No.
I have that set in my truck because I bought that stuff in the road. So here is your just the tip for the day.
Jeff has just a tip.
I do have just a tip. Have a road set of tools and a home set of tools, and carry that road set of tools. If you have a hoopty, you are going to need to wrench on the road. And if you bought that CVS kit, put it under the seat. Don't just let it sit in the garage. Have the basics with you. How about that?
It's
Well
a
done,
good
sir.
safety tip,
Pull
Jeff.
that-
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tools don't do you any good when they're at home.
Oh.
You're not.
Yeah.
You know what my grandfather used to say? The only
What's that?
useless tool is the one you can't lift.
And he, as a diesel mechanic, had a couple of those.
He did. I think what he meant was when you get so old you can't lift it, then
Yeah.
it's a useless tool.
Say, didn't we
Until
get that giant socket wrench from our first Lemons race, or giant? It was like literally a 4-foot wrench.
Yeah.
That it was comically
I
oversized.
don't know where we
Probably.
got that.
Yeah.
They gave
Yeah,
it away.
that was
Biggest
that was
tool
our
award.
bribe on that one.
I could pick them up at Fazio's.
I do want to throw this out there. I feel like this actually
I'll go back. Go ahead.
it was a
pause the
short
music.
developed show, but I feel it's an important show and it's a good show. And if you're a young person listening to this, and you're
Josh
just
claiming no.
absolutely, let's talk, and maybe we can have you on the show. And you can ask all the questions, and we can do it anonymously if you don't want people making fun of you. And you can ask all the questions that people were afraid, or you were afraid to ask in the regular meat space world. And who knows, you come on this show with a page full of silly questions, you might get your own podcast and actually have 8 more episodes than us.
Yes. Josh Clayman, if you're listening, you should be watching Money Pit on Donut and Watch JR Go, because he's building performance cars and Watch JR Go is flipping cars. So he is getting $500 things off of Craigslist and selling them for $2,000.
And also watch Porsche Road Trip with John Polinick.
That's for us who care about Porsches. You know, when we see a 57 Chevy and we go, ugh, boomer car, they see a 911 and go, ugh, boomer car.
Watch you definitely need to watch the show and understand, because it's not just about 911s. It's an interesting bit. I digress.
Again.
Do we have any
Yeah,
idea what we're talking
as
about
I-
next week?
No.
We'll figure it out.
No.
okay.
We'll figure it out.
What
Keep
I'm gonna say,
everyone in
when
suspense.
is New Jersey? Are we doing the New Jersey?
Nah, that's
2 weeks.
The week after.
2 weeks. All right. Ideally, I'll reach out to one of the myriad of fascinating people that want to be guests on our show, and we'll schedule something.
No problem.
Well, thank you for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We also hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building, because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. Then go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. Oh, we should have checked our iTunes ratings since we talked about it last week. Even if
I'll
you
check
hated
right
us,
now.
give us 5 stars and tell us why. If you have any questions, drop an idea, drop a comment on our Facebook page, everyone.racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. Or if you're watching on YouTube, put it right down there in the doodly doo. You can text us at 484-243-0455. Find us on Instagram or Twitter at everyone.racers. Thanks again, and until next week, keep the shiny side up, especially if you're a 17-year-old. Don't flip the car, okay? Keep it safe.
We still have a